Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. I didn't expect to be making another Switch 2 leak video, but yesterday there popped up some fairly legit looking images that I want to showcase here and talk about today because it looks like at least a version of the Switch 2 has been leaked, according to some Chinese production company apparently has been leaking out these pictures. This likely isn't the final model, but some other sources have said, from what they've heard about the Switch 2 and what they've seen so far, this looks to be more in line with what they expect to see the Switch 2 to look like. So I'm going to be going over these pictures and talking about them, and yeah, I guess we'll take this with a grain of salt because it is a leak, but this is getting shared around everywhere. Everyone's speculating because it does look like legit stuff. If this is a fake, it's a pretty darn good one. This could be on the levels of the Grinch leak for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. With that out of the way, let's talk about the leaks here. So first and foremost, it looks like the Switch Joy-Cons, the Switch 2 Joy-Cons look like they've been reworked a little bit here. Looks like they do have two triggers on the top. It couldn't get a great view of the top part, but it does look like they still have the two triggers, but it looks like they have a side trigger as well on the sides of the thing. You can see in the picture here on the back. It looks like they've got an additional trigger here, or maybe they're moving functionality. I'm not sure what it is, but also on the sides of the Joy-Cons, you can see that they do have some different looking. It doesn't look like they have the same track system. It looks like this is what the magnetic track system, the magnetic suction system is going to look like on the sides here. I'll put up this other image as well that looks like an actual shell of the Joy-Con 2 here. Maybe this could be something that's an earlier prototype model or something like that, but this does look substantially different from the original Switch Joy-Cons that we are used to. So it does make sense that if we've heard about the magnet system for the sides of the Switch 2, this looks like that's the case. You also have the shell of the Switch 2 itself. It looks like you got a motherboard here and everything. You've got the pictures here that show the difference between, it looks like the original Switch and the Switch 2 is reportedly going to have an 8-inch screen here, which is an inch bigger than the OLED model, and it looks substantially bigger than the original Switch model. It looks like this is original Switch because on the back right here you can see the little small kickstand from the original Switch model versus what looks like what they've implemented in the OLED model. So it does look much bigger. One of the biggest things here in one of these images shows off a USB-C port on the bottom of the Switch 2 and on the top. Now people have speculated that this could be the dual screen, as it were, the functionality, the ability to connect two switches together with a cable of some sort so you can have dual screens while playing a game, which is an interesting idea. I wonder if it has any capability with the Switch 1. I would imagine no, but I would expect connecting from the top to the top would make it so you have your dual screens, but we'll have to just see because I don't know what else they would use a dual USB-C for, one on the top and one on the bottom, but that was a really interesting feature that a lot of people were noticing as well. Now, on top of all of these pictures that I've shown you and all the leaked images, they also have some leaked specifications I want to go over. Now, I'm going to do some comparison to the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, because that's the most corroborated sources have said this is going to be about as high powered as the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One consoles, which is pretty cool for a handheld. I'm going to go over some of the specifications that have been leaked here. Not everything has been leaked, but a few key points have been. First and foremost, there's going to be 12 gigabytes of RAM here. Now, 12 gigabytes is 4 gigabytes more than the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, as well as the Pro model for the PlayStation 4. I don't know about the Xbox Series X, but I believe, the Xbox One X, I believe they both operate on 8 gigabytes of RAM. So this is substantially more, which is a really interesting thing. It goes along with having HDMI 2.1, which is a far cry from the HDMI 1.4 that the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One had, which gave up to 4K visuals. Apparently 2.1 has the capabilities of up to 8K visuals and 120 frames per second. Now, is the Switch 2 going to target those? Almost certainly not. But the fact that they have that capability likely means that it's going to be able to run 4K fairly well. I'm guessing 1080p in handheld mode, but it should be getting some high frame rates if it's being able to operate at 2.1 on the HDMI. So I think that's a really good sign here. It also is going to have 256 gigabytes of onboard storage, which is huge for a Nintendo console in general, but for the Switch is fantastic. I believe the OLED model has 64 gigs of onboard storage, so having that bump up all the way up to 256 is fantastic. Now, Switch games typically aren't super big, so having way more space means that you're likely not going to have to buy an external micro USB micro SD, excuse me, micro SD card if you want to download your games. Looks like you're going to have plenty of space. I think that's a really positive thing. Another thing as well is the 8-inch display that I talked about earlier. This is substantially bigger. Like if you're measuring screens, typically it's from diagonal, so adding an extra inch is pretty huge. And it's going to have that same kickstand in the back. I think this looks really fantastic. Now, the 12 gigabytes of RAM is really encouraging because it means that it is more powerful in some way over the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but we don't have any clocking speeds. So like the PlayStation 4 clocked in at 1.6 gigahertz, whereas the Xbox One was 1.75. We don't know anything about the cores. 8-core processors for both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Both of those had bigger hard drives, of course, because they're home consoles. So we don't know like anything about teraflops. We don't know anything about the cores for the Switch 2, but we do have some hints here with a couple of things. And again, 12 gigabytes of RAM looks very, very encouraging. Hopefully that means that we have some really high processing power for the Switch 2. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think these Switch 2 leaks are legit. I think they have maybe some credence here. My guess is if these are real, these are earlier models. They don't look like a finished product, but I do like the design. The Switch buttons, the Joy-Con buttons look a little bit better, a little more sleek. It looks a little more form factory. I like what they're doing, and I hope it ends up being a little more polished, a little better overall, but this does look encouraging. Let me know if you think this is real. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.